Yo, I'm gonna test this motherfucking stream. Yo, I'm gonna test this motherfucking stream. Okay. And I'm gonna take a picture for the gram so they know that I'm streaming. Okay. We can turn you off for now. Jaden Smith walks out of an interview. Jaden, what the hell? I actually don't give a fuck. Okay. Damn, bro. This is my first time posting like this on Instagram. I'm gonna be like streaming on YouTube. RN. I'm not even talking about that. I've seen. Nah, I'm not even gonna complicate it. Streaming on YouTube, you right now, and then motherfucker, here's an email link, motherfucker. Damn. Nah, I kind of want to do it a little bit differently now. Yeah, hopefully there's nobody in here right now. Oh my fucking god. Uh, Technology, bro. I hate it. I fucking hate it. Like, it was so fun when I was a kid, but now it's like this op shit, this Fed shit, so powerful people can track you and tell you what to do. Um, like EPA. Fuck me, bro. And then what else did I name it? What else is this stream about? Yo, bro, I'm a fryhead. I literally smoke way too much weed. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, maybe I should do something about it. Oh, oh, okay. Oh, illegal orders. Right, right. Okay, we've done our part. Um, there's really no need, to be honest. All right, let's get through.
Oaks, etc., which the Obama and Biden administration used to destroy countless jobs. And the jobs have been just decimated. Although the
Is it just me or is he slurring more than usual? I mean, I get that like older people slur, I guess, But it's like he really seems like he's struggling to like get some basic syllables out these days.
Back because of tariffs. They're all coming back into our country at levels we've never seen before. But it raised prices and caused immense harm to the U.S. auto industry. We thought irreparable, but we've got them back. We're coming back now. I was in Detroit, as you know, with Ford, and they had one of the earliest plants from the.
Yo, literally couldn't even go into Ford without somebody calling him a PDF file protector, literally. And then the guy that yelled that out to him got like $1 million on GoFundMe. Like, I'm not even joking.
1900s, and it was going to be closed down. And then when I won, they said, let's keep it open for a little while. Let's see what happens. And they just announced, as you know, they're going 24 hours around the clock with that same plant that was going to be closed because of what we've done. For example, under the endangerment finding, they forced the hated start-stop feature onto American consumers, which unnecessarily shuts off a car's engine.
I mean, I feel like one of the best telltale signs that we're in a fascist administration is that the government officials only talk about how great everything is. Like, no one's ever talking about let's solve a problem. Like, the problem is always just whoever's trying to take power away from us, right? It's like he's starting this whatever, this official correspondence by just sucking himself off for like, it's already been a minute. Who knows how long he's even going to go before he gets to what he's even talking about.
You stop at a red light. In other words, the engine goes off. That's great. The endangerment finding was also used to impose the massive and really very expensive electric vehicle mandate. Expensive in the sense that nobody wanted it. Everybody was going to be forced to buy an electric car in a very short period of time, even though you can't power the car because we would have had to spend $5 trillion on power stations. That's all dead, gone, over.
This is like boring, bureaucratic, energy infrastructural things, but I'm just going to assume that every single thing he's saying is a lie. Like, whatever he's saying about this stuff, the exact opposite is true. Like, if they said that they need to build a bunch of power stations, then that probably means that like they're throwing the power stations at them for free. Like, literally, like, it's just double speak, some 1984 shit, bro. Like, whatever he's saying, fuck that. But hopefully he gets to what the fuck he's talking about, bro. Like, Jesus.
Restrictions were a major factor in driving up car prices to
30
unprecedented
minutes?
levels.
Dang.
And the car that you were getting was not nearly as good. In 4 years under the Biden administration, the price of a new and used car rose more than 22%, all to facilitate the Green New Scam without achieving any meaningful impact on the environment, but making the car worse.
I mean, I don't give a fuck if the car is made worse, if the environment even has a chance of being made better than the point that it's at right now. I don't think Biden was really hyper successful in doing any kind of like green stuff. And the Green New Deal never happened, by the way. It's, that's just a twinkle in like AOC's eye and shit, bro. Like, the Green New Deal never happened. Now, there were some climate, there were some provisions for the climate made under Biden, but pretty much all of them got reversed as soon as Trump got back in office, right? So nothing meaningful was achieved because that stuff takes years to achieve, bro. And unfortunately in America, like, the baton just keeps getting passed back and forth between two psychotic groups. You know what I mean? Or one psycho group and then one simp group. So it's like we're just kind of going in circles and just getting a little bit worse every time we go down the spiral.
That's why, effective immediately, we're repealing the ridiculous endangerment finding and terminating all additional green emission standards imposed unnecessarily on vehicle models and engines between 2012 and 2027 and beyond.
I mean, this kind of goes without saying, but he's just doing this because he's in the auto industry's pocket, right? Like, he is personally getting enriched in some form by fossil fuel type vehicles. And now he is just, being the little puppet that he is for corporate interests, right? He's kind of trying to play it off like it's not that big of a deal in a way. Like, what I mean? It's like, yeah, we're just going to roll back the findings that climate change emissions are bad for people. Like, that's kind of insane, right? you know? And I know like people don't really care about climate change, global warming as much as they did maybe as when I was a kid, when that was like the main thing, kind of like microplastics are now. It's like yo, climate change, they're gonna get you. But I mean, it's still a huge problem that's never been resolved, you know. And I, for a little while there, it looked like the various nations across the world were gonna do something to make sure that their sky isn't fucking gray with smog. But now that the United States is rolling it back, like I wouldn't be surprised if China rolls it back and the UK rolls it back. It's like, all right, well, you guys aren't giving a fuck about the environment, so why should we? We're gonna fall behind economically, you know. It's really sad from a scientific perspective, really.
This action will save American consumers trillions of dollars and will
I doubt it. Trillions of dollars? I doubt it.
lower the average cost of a new vehicle by close to $3,000. Think of that. During my
Think of
campaign, I
that.
promised to cut 10 old regulations for every new regulation. And we've exceeded that. We've instead done it 10 regulations. We were able to cut 129. So now we cut 129. So think of that. I promised to cut 10 old regulations for every new one, but we did more than 10. We did 129.
I definitely agree that certain things are too regulated. Like, you know, for instance, like building shelters for the homeless, right? I think that's too regulated. Or just building houses for people that need houses in general. Like, definitely too regulated. Regulations slow things down. Regulations make it so you have to go through hoops to get necessary things. But regulations also make sure that shit is straight, right? The shit is right. Buildings have regulations, right? You know, the police have regulations because we need to know that every time that we interact with this, you know, societal structure, that it'll, you know, not be fucked up. Right? So it's like environmental protection regulations, right? Kind of make sure that the planet that we live in is fucking livable at all. And here's the thing, Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about this shit. It's like he doesn't care about climate change because he's old as hell. And if we're being really honest here, it's like I'm 26, right? Chances are like the worst of climate change are only going to be just getting started by the time that I'm an old man, right? So it's going to be a hard sell to people to why they should sacrifice money now to preserve the planet, right? Especially if they don't even have like a family or just like a reason to give a fuck about society at all, which more and more people are kind of getting to that point, right? I mean, you know, who even knows what's gonna, is this just gonna accelerate whatever doom is impending for us, you know, obviously.
It's something nobody can even believe it. So we did a lot of regulation cutting in the first administration, a record, nobody even close to it now. We're actually exceeding it in this administration. The biggest one yet that we've done is happening right now. So perhaps no industry has benefited more from our historic deregulation campaign than the U.S. auto industry. We canceled the EPA's absurd, just totally absurd.
He's struggling. He's struggling, right? I mean, he always was a poor reader, by the way. But he's slurring in the way that's like his tongue doesn't fit in his mouth. He's just. I think he probably had a stroke, right? You know, I really try to be like not conspiratorial. Like, let's just focus on the facts that we have here. But I mean, his behavior is congruent with someone that had a stroke, in my opinion.
Tailpipe emission standards, which was a disaster for automobile manufacturing, and revoked Biden's emissions waiver that would have allowed California to regulate automobiles for the entire nation. And they're crazy out in California. They have nothing but trouble out there, as you know. That's why people are leaving in record numbers. I also ended Joe Biden's extreme cafe emission standards, saving the average American consumer much more than $1,000 when they buy a new car. But now we're talking about close to $3,000. These regulation cuts, combined with our tax cuts and tariffs, are the reason why the world's largest automakers have announced that they're going to be spending in excess of $100 billion in the United States in the next very short period of time building new auto plants.
Look, are they going to honor that? maybe if Trump stays in power, right? Or maybe if they get some kind of guarantee from the Democrats that the exact deal that they had with Trump would be continued. But most likely there's going to be some kind of political turmoil that makes them back out of it when all this, when America gets out of this fever dream, right? And also, it's very possible that we get deeper into the sickness with maybe like a JD Vance or like a Ron DeSantis presidency, right? But I mean, I don't think that these auto plants are going to get built, put it like that. And then even if they were built, nobody wants to fucking work at a fucking car manufacturing plant. No American wants that shit, okay? This ain't 8 Mile, okay? And look, there's nothing bad about that work. There's not anything dishonorable about that work, but I think most Americans, especially ones that are educated or have aspirations of becoming high earners, don't really want to do blue collar work that's dangerous. You know, that's just I mean I don't, right? I don't. I don't want to. I mean, I guess I would if I had to, but if the economy gets to the point where people have to, then America would kind of suck if all we have is fucking manufacturing and shit. Like even China's backing off that shit now. Like, a service economy ain't a bad thing. I do think that there should be some more manufacturing in America, but forcing all of this at once is not realistic at all.
We're bringing our auto plants, assembly plants, and factories roaring back to life, not even mentioning AI and all of the other things. We're building thousands of businesses in the United States. And if you remember, on my first day, they said if I could ever get the Dow up to 50,000.
But the Dow's 50,000. Yo, the memes about that shit is hilarious, bro. But like, who gives a fuck? I mean, who gives a fuck if the Dow is above 50,000? That's literally what got Joe Biden ousted out this bitch, bro. Because he was like, oh, bro, the economy's great. The stock market is doing well. Duh. Of course the rich are getting richer, motherfucker. That's the problem. Like, because it can only go so high until, the plebs revolt, and then nobody has any money then, huh? You know? Ay, ay, ay.
In my last year, in other words, in the fourth year, that it would be an unbelievable miracle. But don't worry about it because it'll never happen, they said. And if I could get the S&P up to 7,000, they said in the fourth year, they said it will never happen. Let's not even talk about it. I have things. Let's not even waste.
Yo, this is also to me just like also if you had a stroke and you're not evil, I'm not making fun of you, okay? I'm making fun of him because he's evil. Like, you know what I'm saying? But this to me just illustrates like the issue of like having a billionaire for the president. Like I feel like the president of the United States should be for the most part average, right? Like I definitely want them to be successful and accomplished, but they should be the average successful and accomplished person. Someone that went to school, kept their nose clean, like, fucking, all the stuff, all the presidential stuff, right? Um those norms were there for a reason. I think they weren't such a bad idea. You know what I mean? Trump doesn't even have any history of public service before coming into office. Like he was never on a fucking city committee council. What the fuck? You're running the whole country because a billionaire is doesn't or just any business owner, right? Like I don't even know if a business owner should be the president because it's like they're amoral. Like I want the American government to represent a certain level of morality, right? Like a country's morals basically inform how it interacts on the world stage. Like, we have values here of freedom, of fucking self-determination, like all that shit, like whatever. But a business owner, a billionaire is going to see it more in terms of, okay, if you're not helping the vision, my unitary vision, then get the fuck out, right? You're fired. You're fired. Like that's literally what he said on The Apprentice and shit. Like you're fired. We can't fire Americans. Like we're all Americans. All Americans have to go somewhere. They're either going to be out on the street causing trouble, or they're going to be safe at home in their warm ass houses, fucking with their 2.5 kids and their refrigerator full of food, right? Some people are going to be harder to get to that point than others, but we're only as good as our worst member, right? Billionaires don't think that way. Like it's just get the fuck out. Like Trump, get the fuck out of our country. You're deported. You're in jail. Whatever.
Time talking about, well, at the very end of my first year, the Dow hit 50,000. Now it's over 50,000. And 3 days before that, the S&P hit 7,000. So we didn't have to wait till the end of the fourth year. We just waited till the.
All right, you're just gonna talk about like the economics of this shit. I really want to hear from like a scientific perspective, like what all this is gonna mean.
Protection Agency has repealed its own landmark Obama-era assessment that greenhouse gases threaten public health and welfare. Public health and environmental groups warn today's changes could lead to many more premature deaths and a rise in asthma attacks in the coming decades. Until today's shift, which is expected to be challenged in court, the so-called endangerment finding has been the legal foundation for many of the federal government's climate regulations. William
I'm no scientist, right? I feel like greenhouse gases being bad for the environment is like some day one obvious shit, right? Like, duh. Like, you know what I mean? It's like all that smoke going in the sky. Like, look, I smoke hella weed. I don't think that smoke is healing my bones or nothing. Like, smoke destroys. Like, what the fuck? I don't know.
has more, and it's part of our ongoing series, Tipping Point.
Now, the EPA first made that assessment in 2009 after an exhaustive review of the scientific evidence, which showed that greenhouse gases were dangerously warming the planet and exacerbating extreme weather events and air pollution. Under the Clean Air Act, that meant the EPA was then obligated to regulate that pollution. But today, President Trump called that finding a scam that
How is that a scam? Like, you're not a scientist. What do you mean? Like, do you have some counter information that we don't have? Like, how could that be a scam? You know? Like, it's just the abuse of language that pisses me off too. Ever since like alternative facts. Like, it can't be a scam. It's what's scientifically been proven and discovered. Internationally, across the world. You could fucking do an experiment in your backyard and see the greenhouse effect. What the hell?
no legal or scientific basis. His EPA administrator, Lee Zeldin, called it the single largest act of deregulation in American history.
I'm sure it is. What are this guy's credentials, bro? Did he go to school? Is he a doctor? You know what I mean? Like, you know, feel me? Like, and look, I'm no big fan of like mainstream education, but I do want certain people to have degrees, right? Like, I want proof on the record that you know what the hell you're talking about. Like, I'm not going into the doctor and fucking just going to some fucking business appointee that studied up real hard on Google to fix me. Like, fuck that, bro. What the fuck? What a clown country we live in.
The 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding is now eliminated. This action will save American taxpayers over $1.3 trillion.
You're the EPA head. Who gives a fuck about how much money it saves people? Who gives a fuck? I mean, and look, I get it. Like, you know what I mean? Someone, like a politician that I respect currently is Zohran Mamdani, because he very much focuses it on financial stability of the American people. If people can eat, if people can afford to have good lives, then it makes them more likely to care about more macro things about the country. But the independence of these individual branches of the executive government are so corrupted that I think people are starting to forget that their job is not to suck the president's dick. Okay, like the attorney general is independent. Like they're someone that studied the law their whole life, and now they're the most powerful legal person in the country, and the president appoints them. Yeah, but like, you know, they, in theory, they would have hired someone that's such a badass that they have their own unique vision for how shit ought to go, right? And those two people work together, and the average of what they want is what we experience, right? That's how it's supposed to work. But now Trump just abused it so easily, like purple tie McGee over here. It's so easy to manipulate and destroy because, okay, I'm just going to put in lackeys. I'm just going to do crony capitalism. I'm just going to, like, I'm surprised we didn't have some kind of protection for this. I mean, I guess, I'm just ranting, but it's like, I guess they were approved by Congress, which is full of Democrats. I don't know why the Democrats approved any one of these bizarre motherfuckers. Now look at it. Like, the US government is saying, hey, climate change, don't fucking worry about it. Like, what the fuck? They're laughing at us in China. They're fucking laughing at us. Even everybody knows that shit. Like, oh my God, it's so stupid.
What that means is lower prices, more choices, and an end of heavy-handed climate policies.
Environmental advocates warned that this would worsen public health and deal a major blow to any attempts by the U.S. to lessen the impacts of climate change. For more on today's announcement, we are joined now by Maxine Joselo. She's a climate reporter for the New York Times. Maxine, thank you so much for being here. This original finding came out of a Supreme Court ruling, Massachusetts versus the EPA, which said, yes, you can consider carbon pollution a pollutant, but you have to prove that it's detrimental to human health, which the Obama administration did. Since that time, how has the endangerment finding been used by the federal government?
That's exactly right. And
look, Obama had a lot of mistakes, but I don't think he was like asleep at the wheel or anything. Like, he did do a lot of infrastructural changes for the United States that people are still benefiting from. Like the Obama administration proving scientifically that climate change fucks up human health helps the American people in the long run. Like, Obamacare, subsidized healthcare, that helps people in the long run. Now, he should have been way more radical. He had the mandate to be way more radical, but, and again, it's like his legacy is actively being destroyed by Trump. It's so crazy because it's like the few things that Obama was able to pull off with the Republicans against him, Donald Trump is just finishing the job, making sure that those shits are completely irrelevant now.
the endangerment finding did not, in and of itself, set any new climate regulations, but it formed the legal and scientific basis for those regulations. And in particular, the Obama EPA used it as the justification to set the first limits ever on greenhouse gas emissions from cars, trucks, and eventually from power plants that burn coal or natural gas to make electricity.
That's fucking based. That's fucking based. It shouldn't be, but yeah, like, I don't give a fuck about the industries. You're destroying the planet. Like, we're gonna put some barriers in place to protect people.
And in the intervening years, there's been a back and forth between Democratic, Republican administrations, a weakening and a strengthening of those rules, but they've remained in effect and as that litigation has played out.
So now with that endangerment finding gone, what happens now?
So today, EPA said that not only were they repealing the endangerment finding, but they also said they were immediately repealing all greenhouse gas limits on cars and trucks.
Yo, these companies are about to have a fucking field day. Holy cow. Holy cow. Like, they're the gas guzzling. Like, you're gonna be going down the street and then see just billows of black smoke again. It's gonna be ridiculous, man. Oh my god. Oh my god.
That's already happened. And then in the coming months, EPA said it plans to repeal additional limits on greenhouse gases from power plants and other sources as well.
The science that undergirded that first finding has not changed. In fact, the National Academies last year said not only is the science of that original finding accurate, but it's in subsequent years become more evident.
That shit is more true now than it was back then because we have even more proof. But here's the thing. It's like, do you think they are governed by science? No, they're not. I mean, credit where credit is due. Very little credit where credit is due. Operation Warp Speed, that was under Trump. That was highly successful. They cured COVID in like a day and a half. It felt like, you know what I mean? Maybe not a day and a half, but you get what I'm saying? Like, it's incredible that they even figured that shit out so quickly. But now that it's inconvenient to industry, and that's really what it comes down to, right? Like, what's most convenient to industry? That's what America cares about. Like, when COVID was shutting everything down and making it so people didn't want to go to the mall, they figured out a fucking cure, right? Leaders of the world, right? But now that motherfucking cars, or, now that motherfucking cars need to spend money to make sure that they're not killing the fucking planet, fuck that, throw it out. You know what I mean? Fuck the science. I don't give a shit. Like, it's so funny.
How does the administration justify this current move.
So Lee Zeldin
They're not. I'll let her talk, but they're not. They're not justifying it. They're just like, suck my dick.
EPA administrator said that the Obama administration in 2009, when it issued the endangerment finding, used more dire predictions of how much the planet would warm than it actually would. And in some ways, that is true. In 2009, the Obama administration cited some extreme projections of warming that are no longer as likely to happen because the world has taken some climate action, some efforts to reduce emissions and improve the deployment of renewable energy.
Oh, where's the fire? Where's the fire? When you literally just were pouring a bucket of water on it. The fire's not even that big. The fire's not even that big. It's like, yeah, bitch, because we fucking sprayed it down before you came in the room, idiot. Hey. What are we going to do? All right. That is our first topic. Yo, I'm going to grab my iPad, all right? Just so I can monitor the chat. I don't know if anybody's commenting or nothing, but we're going to find out. Just give me a second. Oh my god, can you guys hear that shit, bro? Alright. Where we at with it? Where we at with it? Where we at with it? Yo, fuck Nick Fuentes. He's not worth talking about to me. That being said, yo, excuse me? Am I not live right now? Excuse me? Excuse me? Low life Leo. Oh. There we go. Oh shit, we got 3 watchers. Oh shit. Oh shit. No comments though. Or can I just not see them? Alright. Yo, I swear to God, it's not baby oil, but I don't know, like, I'm starting to, like, oil my face and shit. Like, I've been on, like, this really big, like, OCD health kick kind of thing, right? Where I'm just drinking hella water, working out, like, 2 to 3 times a day. Like, you know, I'm taking, like, a multivitamin. Like, I'm running every day. Like, I've never even given a fuck about running ever before in my life. And part of it is just having like oil on my face, right? Like I'm 26, right? Not old, but like I'm gonna be old soon. I feel like this is one of the last ages I can be like, oh, you're not, you're not that old. You're only what, 26? I don't know, man. I don't know. Soft topic. Okay, so ICE announced that they are going to end the crackdown in Minneapolis, and this is Thumbman, aka Tom Homan, announcing it. Let's watch it.
Good morning. I'm Tom Homan, the board is our President Trump. I'm going to read a statement real quick.
You can't tell me that this guy's face doesn't look like a ball sack. Even like his hair is like, you know, like the sides, you know?
Try to read the statement, I'll take questions. I'm here with Sam Molson, Director of ICE and Enforcement Mover Operations for the St. Paul Field Office. Stephen Schrenk, Acting Special Agent in charge for ICE Homeland Security Investigations. And Chris Kuhn, Deputy Chief Patrol Agent for the United States Border Patrol. I'm very pleased to report that this search operation and our work here with state and local officials to improve coordination and achieve mutual goals, as well as our efforts to address issues of concern here on the ground, have yielded the successful results we obtained.
I mean, they haven't really, maybe he'll get into it, but they haven't really said what the goal was, right? Like a Republican influencer made a video that went viral saying like, "Oh, the Somalis are like stealing or they're like stealing from the government through like their daycare or whatever." And they sent a bunch of armed goons there to scare the population. I mean, I guess that was successful, but it's not like they announced, okay, like we're gonna get X amount of Somalis, because they were just randomly picking people off the street. Like they weren't just walking up to black people; they were walking up to anybody. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what mission was achieved? You know, which goal was accomplished? Like,
Came here for. The Twin Cities and Minnesota in general are and will continue to be much safer for the communities here because of what we have accomplished.
bro, like I don't know, maybe some shootings took place between now and when the year first started, but for a while, ICE was responsible for like 66% of the homicides in Minneapolis, right? So at some point, 2/3 of the motherfuckers that got shot in Minneapolis were ICE's fault, right? Now, is there how is that making it safer? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like how are you making it safer? I guess like people's money was safer, I guess, from the Somali fraudsters, I guess. But really that's the government's money. Like I don't even really give a fuck if people defraud the government, to be honest. Okay? I know hella people, hella white people that had fucking fake PPPs and shit and they never got caught. You know what I mean? Okay, some Somalis did it. Like I don't care. They're from Somalia. It sucks over there. I don't even mind that they're getting more out of America than I am. Like they had a tougher backstory. That's how I really feel personally. You know.
President Trump's leadership. I previously shared with you before I got here. Before I even got here, I met with. I said I was going to meet with the governor, the AG, and the Mayor Fry, Mayor Her, and I've done all of that. I've also met with various police chiefs and sheriffs. And one thing we all had in common was the importance of ensuring and maintaining public safety.
Public safety from you. Public safety from you, motherfucker. What the hell? Just the gaslighting in this era of the political whatever that we live in is just so sickening. It's like, motherfucker, you know it's your fault. You know it's your fault. That's why you're doing this whole press conference, because you're acknowledging that you guys fucked up bad. You know, they want ICE in every city. Like, they have to withdraw from this city because they ruined it. You know what I mean? It's an international issue now. Like it's making Trump's stomach turn. It's like, fuck. Like, we're looking pretty bad out there. You know, like, you're supposed to rough them up in private, you know?
We made a lot of progress through extensive engagement.
What's good, Aaron Morgan?
Meeting with them and other key stakeholders. And it is expected that those engagements and discussions will continue going forward in order to enhance exchange of information and more coordination. As a result of this surge operation, we have greatly reduced the number of targets for enforcement action. And many criminal aliens have been arrested and taken off the streets.
In 1984, they have a very important concept called doublespeak, where they would say something in a way that confuses your brain, so like the viscerality of it is taken out of it, right? So they would be like, instead of saying something is bad, you're only allowed to say that's minus good, or like whatever the fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? So by saying, oh, the criminal aliens, the criminal illegal aliens, it's creating, you know, those are scary words. So in your brain, it creates like a perception of what these people are like. But in reality, they're just normal ass people. You know what I mean? Or children, like, you know?
Including murders, sex offenders.
Yeah, there's no way they're done.
Gang members and other violent criminals. Just this week, ICE arrested a criminal alien with criminal convictions for rape, acts with a child under 14 years of age with force.
It just really pisses me off when they say like they're capturing rapists, because like, look, good, like, you feel me? Like, if there's a fucking undocumented person here that's like a runaway rapist, like, yeah, you can deport them. I'm cool with that. But like, the president is in all likelihood a fucking child trafficker, right? So it's like, how is that not like the first thing that these reporters say, like when they ask them questions? It's kind of irrelevant to bring up over and over and over again, but I think the first question should always be, hey, the Epstein file. Whatever. I don't know.
Lewd and lascivious acts with a child under 14. ICE also arrested 2 criminal aliens with criminal sexual misconduct convictions, among other violent criminals. Through targeted enforcement operations based on reasonable suspicion and prioritizing safety and security, ICE will continue to identify, arrest, and remove illegal aliens that pose a risk to public safety, like we've done for years. And our officers will carry out their duties with professionalism, integrity, and compassion, like we've done for years.
Executing people in the street, not very professional. You know, there's certain things you don't do. You don't eat someone's lunch. You don't habitually show up late. You don't take someone's gun off of them and then shoot them in the back while they're getting up off the snowy ground. You know, in my professional experience, you know, I haven't had that many jobs, but, you know, I don't know.
We will enforce the immigration law against all persons in the United States illegally.
Except Nicki Minaj, you know.
I want to say something about the various unfounded complaints I'm hearing about ICE enforcement operations. During the surge operation, ICE has not arrested anybody inside a hospital. We have not arrested anybody inside of a school, an elementary school.
They wait out. Well, okay. I don't know about the hospital thing. They have definitely gone into hospitals before. I don't know if they did it in Minneapolis exactly. Let's just take it at face value. They haven't also gone into schools, but what they'll do is just wait for kids to like get dropped off or picked up and then capture them there, right? Or use the kids as bait to get their parents, right? Because a lot of these kids are citizens because they're like anchor babies or whatever. So, you know, that's like a lie by omission by my calculation.
We have not arrested anybody inside a church. As a matter of fact, the only ones that disrespected the sanctuary of a church were the agitators that have been arrested and prosecuted. And so far, we have 9 of them.
I don't know if going into a church and being loud is a crime. Or even if it is technically, I don't know if I give a fuck about that being a crime. I don't think it's helpful necessarily, or at least not optically helpful for them to do what they did. I also don't think they're bad, and I don't think they should face charges for that, personally. You know, some light shaming should have been the maximum of the extent. And again, I really don't give a fuck. Like, the pastor was an ICE agent. Like, that's very, you know, that pisses me off. It is a crime. I mean, I think, like, the FACE Act, or, like, whatever, like, they're using. I'm sure it's arguable that it is a crime. Whatever. I don't give a fuck, though, personally.
However, those locations are not off the table. I said from day one, there is no sanctuary for a significant public safety threat or national security threat. But as far as those stories about ICE going into churches, arresting people in hospitals, it simply has not happened. And if you have a case where it happened, you let me know. Because all the digging I've done...
They wouldn't give a fuck. Like, yo, you could have a report that an ICE agent dragged their nuts across your forehead, and he'd be like, oh, well, you know, that's in their training.
I can't find a single one. Under President Trump's direction, we have obtained an unprecedented level of coordination with law enforcement officials that is focused on promoting public safety.
The ICE agents and the motherfucking Minneapolis police have had lots of friction. That being said, cops are kind of fascist too. Not all cops, obviously. Like, the world needs good cops and all that shit. But, you know, a lot of those credits transfer. You know, a lot of the cops aren't even mad that they're capturing the immigrants. They're just mad that they're doing it in a way that's not scrutinized, you know, in the same way that they are, you know, especially in Minneapolis.
Across the entire state. While I don't agree with Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellis on everything, I appreciate the support the governor gives to state agencies who coordinate with us in a manner intended to promote public safety. And I appreciate the AG having an open dialogue with me. Early on, the first meeting I had, acknowledging that county jails may notify ICE of the release date of an inmate, just as long as they don't hold them past the time they would normally release them.
all this like magnanimity that he's suddenly pulling out of his ass is literally just because the political card shifted, right? Because back when they had just killed an innocent mother, just killed a fucking ICU nurse, his like, this is a domestic terrorist. They're domestic terrorists. Fuck Governor Walz. They're not complying, But now that it's gonna hurt the Republicans in the midterms, and like the ICE agents are crying and shit probably behind the scenes. He has to walk it back in a way that is somewhat dignified. And look, like Tom Homan, I would say is a little tiny bit better than Greg Bovino, because Greg Bovino is like a one battle after another type motherfucker, where it's like he thrives on like the tears of Mexican children and stuff. Tom Homan is more just like a classic corrupt, I don't give a fuck about anything, I'm just a dickhead cop kind of guy in my book.
We now have the ability to arrest criminal aliens in the safety and security of jails throughout the state at the time they're being released, like we've done in other states. I've also directed the strategic placement of officers in certain areas throughout the states that can respond quickly to sheriffs that want to release somebody and notify us. We need to be nearby so they don't hold them unnecessarily. So we worked on a strategic plan to reassign officers in those key locations. Arresting a public safety threat in the safety and security of a jail is safer for the alien. It's safer for the officer.
It's safer for the alien. Yo, if I was the president, the first thing I'm gonna do, it's like, yo, if you call a human being an alien again, you're fucking fired. All right? And, I get it. I mean, technically, the dictionary definition, they're an alien, but it's designed to dehumanize them. It's having a really dark effect on, like, the discourse in this country, It's having a dark effect on how we communicate with each other. That's bullshit. That's bullshit that's the official government term for them.
And safer for the community. I think we all can agree on that. It requires less resources for at-large operations. It just makes sense. I'll say it again, as I've said many times, we are not asking local law enforcement to act as immigration officers. I don't want them to be immigration officers.
Honestly, I really wouldn't mind that much. Like, you feel me? And look, the police have huge problems. Like, I am no glazer of the police. Fuck the police, ACAB, all that shit, right? Like, the police are a huge problem. But they do have more training than ICE agents a lot of the time, right? And they do live in these communities, at least kinda, like, close enough, versus like a federal agent that's getting imported in like a plane or like a truck or some shit, like, that lives on the other side of the country, and they're masked up. They don't even have to show their real ass face,
Immigration officers, we just want them to be cops. We're asking
But yeah, like, I don't mind if like the cops were also ICE agents, because it's like at the end of the day, it's like they arrest people anyway. Like, if they arrested people for being illegal immigrants, then whatever. I mean, I wouldn't love that, but it's no different than any other crime by their standard, right? So why couldn't they do it? Can they just run their papers, run their motherfucking, ID number, whatever, and have the same effect? Chat? And is that like a crazy idea? I don't know. They seem very well equipped. The police are militarized enough to get the job done 9 times out of 10. Or maybe like ICE could be like something that's just glommed on to like a police force. Like, maybe they have like, I don't know. I don't want to empower the police more either, but I also don't really give a fuck about illegal immigration. I really don't really give a fuck. I just don't, I don't. All right.
Heating up for sure. Connor, thanks. Time now is 6:46 right now. There is still intense debate on Capitol Hill over funding for the Department of Homeland Security. There's going to be a lapse in funding by midnight Friday if a deal is not reached between Democrats and Republicans. Our Scripps News Group's Joe St. George live with us this morning. Now,
I mean, we're finally getting to the point where the Democrats are willing to like stomp their feet about ICE. It's kind of dark that it took 2 people dying before they got to that point. And I guess they kind of found a strategy now with this partial shutdown shit. But I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say they'd probably fold again. You know, that's just historically what they've done.
What would be the impact of a shutdown like this for DHS? Where do we stand on this?
Man, it's hard to believe we're talking about, right? Potentially another one, the third one in as many months. Feels a little deja vu. I think some
This is like Ted Cruz if he didn't go to the dark side.
viewers in Hampton Roads maybe said, wait a minute, is this an old episode of the news? Joe's talking about a shutdown again? Yes, it's possible, but as you said it, Blaine, this would only be a shutdown impacting the Department of Homeland Security. But as we can show you on screen, I mean,
That's based. I love the idea of that. I actually love the idea of that.
Department of Homeland Security is a very large cabinet department. It's the third largest cabinet department, 260,000 employees.
Does America need to be this secure? I mean, like, and that sounds like an absurd question, but like, we really overdid it after 9/11, okay? Like, 9/11 is really just a case of like our airplane security not being that secure, right? Yeah, I mean, we could have fixed that by just TSA, but now we need like the Gestapo too to protect us from what? Osama bin Laden? We got him, right? And look, there's lots of terrorist organizations that want to do harm to the United States, and I am glad that we have like a robust agency to protect us from that. But like, goddamn, 260,000, you know, I don't know.
Coast Guard is part of it, TSA at every airport in the country, FEMA, Secret Service, other divisions included as well. I think this has been a big story about immigration enforcement, and the Department of Homeland Security does do immigration enforcement and the border, but so many other components of the Department of Homeland Security as well here. On Capitol Hill yesterday, leaders from the Coast Guard, leaders from TSA, they told lawmakers about what another funding lapse would mean for their employees and their operations. Take a listen.
These guys are fucking terrifying. They are. You know, we all know this, but it's like this motherfucker's dressed like he's about to do a Call of Duty run. Like, you open your door to that motherfucker, what do you say? What do you do? Like, you can't do shit. You can't do shit, bro.
A funding lapse has severe and lasting challenges for our workforce, operational readiness, and long-term capabilities.
We heard reports of officers sleeping in their cars at airports to save money on gas, selling their blood and plasma, and taking on second jobs to make ends meet.
A partial shutdown is going to do more than hurt ICE. It's going to hurt, you know, the other people in the purview of DHS as well. But I think that suffering is kind of necessary, because with suffering comes desperation. And with desperation, people are more likely to negotiate. You know, I don't think it's good, you know, but it is objectively correct. If the Coast Guards aren't getting their fucking payments or whatever, they're going to be like, they're going to blame it on ICE. And it would be accurate to blame it on ICE. ICE is a huge problem. ICE kills people. ICE is untrained. ICE is making a mockery of justice in the United States, right? And now ICE is taking your paycheck away, right? But it takes a lot to kind of like get them to understand that, because they could just as easily spin that blame on the Democrats, because it is technically their fault too, you know, or it is their fault completely because they're creating this circumstance for them. I don't know.
That part of the hearing struck me. That was the TSA administrator talking about the last shutdown and the last full government shutdown in the fall. Where do we stand on this Thursday morning? We are expecting votes in the Senate today. Punchbowl News is reporting that the White House sent over another counteroffer to try and end this funding stalemate late last night. We'll see how Democrats respond, but all odds seem to be pointing in the direction of a shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Let's talk impacts. Obviously, if you work for the Department of Homeland Security, you can see impacts starting next week. But as our viewers know, the shorter the shutdown, the fewer the impacts. The longer the shutdown, the more impacts pop up. And it may be a while before everyday Americans see the impacts of this looming Department of Homeland Security shutdown, immigration enforcement would continue uninterrupted. They've been infused with cash because of President Trump's one big, beautiful bill. We're expecting FEMA to still have billions of dollars in the reserves, and that'll get them a few weeks, few months likely. And as far as TSA goes, the first missed paycheck for TSA officers wouldn't be until mid-March, and that could be the big flashpoint here, because what's mid-March? The beginning of spring break travel season. Those two issues could coincide. So we'll be watching this closely over the next.
I mean, chances are how this thing is going to play out, if it does come to a shutdown again, is the Republicans won't budge an inch, right? The Democrats won't budge an inch at first. Then people will suffer, right? People will suffer bad. Some people will blame the Democrats. Not all. Maybe not even most. But they're going to blame the Democrats. And then, Chuck Schumer is just going to pussy out. And he's going to be like, oh, I just can't stand for the Coast Guards not to get their checks. Whatever. Like, you feel me? And everything's going to go back to how it was, where ICE is going to do whatever the fuck they want. And they're going to be like, haha, those stupid liberals, we were starting to sweat. But then they back down in the last second because they're cowards. And they'll be right. I don't know. All right. All right. Last topic of the day, boys. Last topic of the day. Yo, you can drop a chat to my This is the most successful live stream on YouTube I've ever had in my life, by the way. So, thanks, motherfuckers. All right. Watch a video. Watch a video after. I stream every day at 3:30. I kind of started late today, but don't worry about that. All right.
In the last few minutes, NBC News is reporting the Trump administration has tried and failed to get a criminal indictment of Democratic legislators who told the military that they don't have to follow illegal orders.
Just take a step back. It's like they're trying to prosecute people for saying that you don't have to follow illegal instructions. That's kind of like tipping your hand, right? Like, I don't understand how like a Republican motherfucker could even like justify that. No. Trump. No. It's good that Trump said that you shouldn't be able to say that you can't do illegal stuff, because like, what if Trump needs you to do something illegal? You got to do it. He's the president. If Trump says it's not illegal, bro. So he has to punish people that are against illegal shit. Like, he has to, bro. That's, I imagine, how they'd say, or how they'd sound.
Reported here, Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado was part of that effort. Crow and other military vets in Congress.
That's my senator. I mean, I think he's decent, I wouldn't say he's like super based or anything, but if he was like the Democratic nominee, like, I wouldn't be like, oh, he's a bad choice. Kamala Harris was considering him. I think, he doesn't embarrass Arizona at all. I think it was based for him to be in this video. Like, he's a military man. He's an astronaut. Like, he should be on the forefront of saying, like, hey, guys, like, keep your morality in Trump's military.
Appeared in a video back in November telling service members that they have no obligation to follow illegal orders. That is, in fact, the law. But then President Trump accused them of sedition.
Sedition. Motherfucker, these people actually were in the armed services. Like, they actually put on the motherfucking camo and shit. And they did their 10 huts or whatever the fuck they did. Like, Donald Trump is a fucking draft dodger. Like, I don't know. I feel like and look, I don't think you need to be in the military or anything in order to be the president. I think the military suckers a lot of people, to be honest. I'm sure they gain great skills or whatever, but a lot of people get into the military and realize that it's really not what they thought it would be, and they're still proud of serving, but like, they're disillusioned, right? So if you didn't go through that experience, I just don't see a world where it's appropriate to like tell them like about the military honor code or whatever, and if you are gonna lecture them, you better make sure your fucking facts are straight. Like, motherfucker, like, obviously you don't have to follow illegal orders. It's the Constitution. Like, the rules matter in this country, allegedly, right?
Punishable by death.
Yeah, and then he threatened to fucking kill them. What the hell? What the fuck?
D.C. says it has not confirmed how many of the Democrats were targeted by the failed attempt to secure an indictment that apparently ran through the office of District of Columbia U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, the former Fox News personality.
All right.
A federal grand jury
Whoa,
put a
whoa,
halt,
whoa,
at least
whoa,
temporarily.
Whoa, chill. PBS is probably better, but we already did a PBS video today.
Blocking the Department of Defense's attempt to punish Senator Mark Kelly. The judge issuing a scathing opinion today that concluded that DOD and Secretary Pete Hegseth trampled on Kelly's First Amendment rights. Congressional correspondent Jay O'Brien joins us now for more, and we should remind folks about the illegal orders video that first went out and created all of this, Jay.
Exactly right, Kira. This is all tied back to that video that the president really thrust into the spotlight of a number of congressional Democrats who have backgrounds in the military or the intelligence community, speaking directly via a social media video to U.S. troops, saying that they can deny to follow illegal orders. They can decline to go along with an illegal order. That's all these members said in this video.
It was very clever agitation, in my opinion, right? Because they knew, like all these Democrats knew, that if we tell Trump he can't do something, he's going to have a visceral reaction that's going to make a point for us, right? So it's like, okay, fuck, so what should we say? What should we say? Okay, what if we say, don't do anything illegal? It's actually a very soft statement, right? Not don't do anything immoral. I think that would be a little bit more based, right? Because there's plenty of things that the government can tell you to do that's immoral, but it's technically legal, right? But don't do anything illegal. That's very explicit. But here's the thing. In practice, how would that even work, right? Because military service members are trained literally to follow orders, right? Like something would have to be really far amiss for them to even identify it as illegal in the first place. Now, I do know that there are like military lawyers and stuff like that. I don't know to what extent everyone has access to those. You know, I didn't serve, you know, in case you couldn't tell by like my haircut, right? You know, but it was really clever of them, and they're kind of getting their wish. You know, it could have went left for them if like the judges decided to entertain this Trump bullshit, but the judge is blocking the attempts, right? The Trump will still try, but they're on really solid legal territory because they said so little in that motherfucking video.
President Trump, though, was irate by that video. He said it was tantamount to sedition, in his words. And that's what began the Trump administration and the Pentagon seeking to take action against these members of Congress. We had reporting earlier this week that a D.C. grand jury declined to indict these members in that video that you're seeing on criminal charges.
And also, too, you think they didn't run this shit by a lawyer? Like, if you're a fucking U.S. senator, a fucking House of Representatives motherfucker, like, do you think they didn't... You think they didn't edit it completely? So it's like, no. We know the law. You can say this, right? Oh, and it is an assault on free speech. I thought this was America. I thought you could say whatever you wanted. What the hell Republicans do? And they get away with saying way more visceral shit than don't break the law. Holy moly.
Now today, a judge is smacking down the Pentagon's attempt to punish Senator Mark Kelly, who was a retired Navy captain. What the Pentagon was seeking to do was diminish Kelly's rank from captain to something lower, which would also impact his pension payments. And the judge flatly shot that down. And you said there, you quoted a little bit from the judge's memorandum here, saying that...
Damn, he gets to keep his check, too. What a W. I mean, I like Mark Kelly. Like, you feel me? I try not to, like, have love affairs with politicians anymore, you know, because they'll disappoint you. But I think he's, like, a reasonable choice for the Democrats. Like, I think he's worth investing our time in. I would like to see him go to the left on, like, a lot of key shit, but what can you do? I mean, he's better than Gavin Newsom. What the fuck?
Senator Kelly's First Amendment rights were trampled on. I just want to read a little bit more here because it is a startling rebuke of the administration. By the way, this judge is a George W. Bush appointee. He says, quote, "This court has all it needs to conclude that defendants, them being the Department of Defense, have trampled on Senator Kelly's First Amendment freedoms and threatened the constitutional liberties of millions of military retirees. After all, as Bob Dylan famously said, quote, you..."
Come on, don't be a boomer. You don't have to quote Bob Dylan in your fucking rebuke of fascism, bro. This better be good. Whatever this quote is, it better be good.
Don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. To say the least, our retired veterans deserve more respect from their government, and our Constitution demands they receive it. Stark words there from a Republican appointee to the Pentagon today, Kira.
The judges have really been like the unsung heroes of this shit, in my opinion. Because even like Republican appointees, they still care about the law. Probably just because the law is their job, and you know it's hard. They're educated. You know, they know what they're talking about.
Mark Kelly is not.
Most of the time. Every now and again you'll get like an activist judge or whatever, but they're a little bit rarer than I would have expected, to be honest. Especially like the Trump appointed ones. I mean, you have your Eileen Cannons here and there, but for the most part, the courts, besides the Supreme Court, have been okay. Not as bad as they could have been.
Quoting Bob Dylan, but I do have a statement now that Mark Kelly just put out. Jay, bear with me here. Mark Kelly saying on this federal court ruling today, a federal court made clear that Pete Hegseth violated the Constitution when he tried to punish me for something I said. But this case was never just about me. This administration was sending a message to millions of retired veterans that they too can be censured or demoted just for speaking out. That's
Now, look, I'm under no delusion. The vast majority of people that are in the military probably are Trump supporters, right? Or at least the people that make them serving in the past like their whole identity, right? Just because like the army is like, you know, it's hegemonic is the word, you know? Like you do need to have a certain philosophy in order to be really into like military service, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I think Mark Kelly took a dub, and that's fucking dope, in my opinion. All right, guys, that's the stream. This is the most successful stream on YouTube I've ever done. To the two people that commented, thank you, even though one of them was disagreeing with me. We'll let you slide for that this time. I'm going to be on here again tomorrow at 3:30 Mountain Time. All right, bye, guys.